Welcome back to another book review video. In today's episode, I will be checking out Rapture. And like we always do, let's check out the book cover. As you can see, it has the city of Rapture. It has this giant globe and a few people in the front. And on the back side you can see the picture of Andrew Ryan. And yeah, I think it's a pretty nice book cover. I like it. So, Rapture. This is a prequel book to the video game Bioshock 1. So, the story starts at the beginning of Russian Revolution, and our main protagonist, little Andrew Ryan, barely escapes with his life, and he goes to America. And while living in America, Andrew Ryan slowly became more and more rich. He opened a few of his own companies and stuff like that, and basically he became a multi-millionaire. And also during that time in America, he started to make up his own ideas of what the perfect world would look like. Basically, you own what you earn. And one day it went so far that basically he owned a forest, but there was some political group or something like that, and they decided, oh, this forest belongs to God, let's make a park out of it. And he didn't want that, so he basically said, you know, either you stop that or I'm gonna just burn the whole forest down. So he did. He just burned his whole forest down because he didn't want the parasites to take it from him. And the final straw for Andrew Ryan was when Americans dropped the nuclear weapons on Japan. And basically, in his mind, the nuclear weapons were used by the parasites to destroy everything they can't seize for themselves. So he decided to take all his money and start building Rapture in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean. Because he's rich, his big plan is to start making a secret underwater city. And in his own words, it's not because it's impossible to build the city underwater, but because it would be impossible to build it anywhere else in the world. And he basically secretly starts recruiting like-minded people from all over the world, and he invites them to live in the city when, you know, the construction will be finished. But some of the people start noticing that something is up, you know, something is fishy. That there's this secret operation that nobody knows in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean. And one of those people is Frank Fontaine, and he's really curious what Andrew Ryan is up to. And he decides that he's gonna go and take a look for himself to see what's going on there in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean. And basically he sneaks into the city unnoticed, and he starts his own gang down there. And the rest of the story is basically how the city of Rapture was built, how people lived there, how it was at first it was a utopia, almost like a utopia, and then things slowly begin to went downhill, and at the end of the book it's basically exactly like you find it in Bioshock 1, all ruined and crazy people everywhere that want to kill you, and yeah. It's also very nice that the Rapture book connects both Bioshock 1 and Bioshock 2 video games, and basically it also explains why the characters that appear in Bioshock 2, why they don't appear in the first game. So I thought that was pretty nice. And if you're gonna start reading this book, just keep in mind that there are a lot of characters in it. Basically every character that you meet in Bioshock 1 and Bioshock 2 also appears in this book, so yeah, it's full of different characters that you need to keep track of. It also has some minor characters that appear only in a few scenes and then they never appear again. But those characters are basically everyday people, so you can see through the eyes of everyday people how the life in the underwater city is going and how it's on decline basically. And the book also explained how they first got their hands on those magical slugs that produce Adam and Eve, that basically give you superpowers if you inject them into your vein. Basically drugs, you could say. And how it basically went even more downhill after they start selling those plasmids. They are called plasmids. And it is also explained how they started making big daddies and little sisters, and those parts are quite horrifying, I would say, you know. It gets pretty dark in this book, especially with big daddies and little sisters, and when it's explained how they make them and all that brutal stuff, it gets pretty dark. And the book ends with the revolutionary war that happens in Rapture between forces of Andrew Ryan and all those crazy people that Frank Fontaine hired. And I think that the ending was pretty well written with that one woman and one girl. I'm not gonna spoil what happened to them, but I think it's a pretty nice way to end this book with those two characters. And as a fun fact, this was one of the books that I took with myself while I was living in Madrid for a short time. And basically I would go on a subway train every morning. The ride would take like 1 hour approximately. And I would read books in that time, and this was one of them. So yeah, I have really special memories with this book. And if you're gonna read this book, Rapture, I really recommend that you also play Bioshock 1, Bioshock 2 and Bioshock Infinite. They are all great games in their own special way. I think Bioshock 2 is my favorite. And if you never played Bioshock 1 before, don't look up any gameplay or lore videos or story videos, because in Bioshock 1 there is this one big twist that is really great. I think it's one of the best plot twists in video games history, and I think you don't want to spoil it for yourself, so you know. So overall, how would I rate this book from 1 to 10? I think Bioshock Rapture, the book, the novel, is really fantastic. I loved it. There are a lot of characters, yes, but you know, I played the Bioshock video game, so I know mostly of them, basically every single one of them. But yeah, I really love Bioshock series. I think it's great, one of the best video games out there. So I will give this book 9 out of 10. Really great. Really great. Anyway, thank you guys for watching. Like and subscribe, and I will see you in the next book review video. Goodbye.